Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Let us continue with the chapter Diversity in Living Organisms. Now, so far we have studied about the basic features of the kingdom Monera, Protista and Fungi, right? And according to five kingdom system, the next kingdom is the Plantae. Right? So in today's session, I'm just going to discuss briefly about the kingdom Plantae and the kingdom Animalia. Right? And further, we will go in depth of each type later on. So for now, let us just summarize the basic features of these two kingdoms. So here is the chart that is showing the characteristic features of the organisms which belongs to kingdom Plantae, right? So the very first point is that these organisms, they are eukaryotic. They are made up of eukaryotic cells. Eukaryotic cell, you understand very well that what it is, right? It is a cell in which there is the well developed nucleus that is separated from the cytoplasm by the nuclear membrane, right? Now if I am discussing about the plant cell, the most important feature that must be present in such type of eukaryotic cell is the presence of the plastids. Plastids, it is a particular organelle in which there are some pigments, fine, and those pigments provides the color to these particular plastids, right? They can be of two types, that is they are either chromoplast or it is the leucoplast. Leucoplast is basically it is meant for what? For the storage of food material or storage of different content of the plant, right? Plant cell. Besides this, the chromoplast is having the colored pigments, and depending upon the color or the specific pigment, these chromoplasts are of different types. Now here, the most important plastid that I must mention is the chloroplast. Why this chloroplast is to be mentioned here? Because the chloroplast is having the pigment chlorophyll, and of course some other accessory pigments are also there which is required for the photosynthesis, for the production of food material, and this is the special feature of this particular group. Now these plastids are not present in the eukaryotic cell which is present in the fungi or in the animal group. It is a peculiar feature of only plant group or the autotrophic cell. Fine. Next point is that these eukaryotic cells, they are surrounded by the outer covering which is known as the cell wall. The cell wall in the plant cell is made up of cellulose. Whereas you remember where else this cell wall is present? It is not present in the animal cell, right? But it is present in the fungus, in the fungal cell. Then it is also present in the monoran or the protestant cells. Some of them, not all. Over there, the chemical composition is definitely different. In those groups, it is not made up of cellulose. In fungus, this membrane is made up of chitin. And in the Monera or in Protista, the cell wall is made up of a peptidoglycan, a complex polysaccharide or a complex carbohydrate. Fine. Next is that these plant bodies or the plant organisms or the organisms that belong to the kingdom Plantae, they are always multicellular. Now these multicellular organisms, they may be different. They may be differentiated, or they may be living as a colony. What I mean by this is that they may be having the organized body, the organized tissues or the organs or the organ systems and all, right? And on the other hand, there might be some other group which is just living as the algae. right? Or it is just living as a multicellular colony where the structures are not well developed. Fine. Next important point is that on the basis of such type of property, that is, whether the body is differentiated or not, the organisms can be subclassified. Fine. But definitely the body organization will become complex and more complex with each subdivision. Fine. Next important feature of these organisms is regarding the locomotion. Locomotion is a property by which an organism can move from one place to the another. Right. So these organisms, they are non-motile. They cannot move from one place to the another. They are fixed at their position. And definitely if they have to be fixed at a particular position, then they must be able to tolerate the harsh conditions or the changing conditions in its surrounding. And besides that, since it has to stand erect at the same position, it has to be mechanically strong. And to fulfill these basic requirements, the organisms are supported by the dead tissues. They are made up of not only the living tissues but also the dead tissues. Now, such property is absent in the animals belonging to group Animalia. Over there, the number or the amount of dead tissue is very less. In that case, the organisms are mostly made up of the living tissues. Fine. Well, now the next point is regarding the mode of nutrition. Plantae, these organisms, they are always autotrophic. Fine. And autotrophic, that means they are able to synthesize their own food. Now, important point here is that these organisms, they are synthesizing their own food by using light energy. You remember these autotrophic organisms, or this property is also present in some of the organisms which belong to group Monera and to Protista. But over there, the source of energy is different. See, when the autotrophic means synthesis of food, fine. But just imagine one thing. If food is getting synthesized, definitely there is the formation of some bond. And if the bond formation is taking place, it will require the energy. So in these different cases, that is in Monera, Plantae, and the Protista, the source of energy for the synthesis of food material is different. In that case, it can be some chemical or even the light also, or different types of chemicals. But in the case of plant, the source of energy is always light energy, which is of course provided by the sun, right? Further, the next important thing or the important feature is regarding reproduction. So these organisms, they can reproduce either by asexual method or it can reproduce by the sexual method. If it is asexual, usually these organisms reproduce by the regeneration process. Regeneration, or it is also known as the vegetative propagation, in which the vegetative part of plant body is taken, and in that the different parts are regrown. For example, you must have heard about cutting. In that case, a section of stem is taken and it is then sown in the soil. So after this process, what will happen? Roots will develop and the other leaves will also develop and the stem will also grow further. So in that case, there is no sexual mechanism followed here. Right. So this is the way. Similarly, there is the process known as grafting and layering. All these are the type of vegetative propagation. And of course, it is a mode of asexual reproduction. Fine. Then comes the sexual reproduction. So you know very well that what is this sexual reproduction? In sexual reproduction, there is the fusion between what? between the male gamete and the female gamete, right? So in such cases, the fusion process is actually taking place. So they can reproduce, and of course that process is resulting in the formation of seeds also, right? Seeds will further grow and grow the embryo, and from embryo the new plant will be generated. So in short, plants can reproduce by asexual as well as sexual mode of reproduction. Fine. So these are the basic features in the particular organism, if which is present, which belongs to the kingdom Plantae. Now let us discuss the next kingdom, that is Animalia. So the organisms that belong to kingdom Animalia, they are having the following characteristic features. Number one, they are all made up of eukaryotic cells. Now the eukaryotic cells, I don't think there is a requirement to explain it again, that what it is. Fine. It is a well developed cell with respect to the nucleus and other membrane bound organelles. But the important point that I like to mention here is that in these cells, the chloroplast is absent. Or in other terms, I can say the plastids are not present. Although other membrane-bound organelles are present, but definitely plastids are absent, and therefore they are not able to synthesize their own food. Fine. Regarding other organelles, I must say that they are having more number of vacuoles as compared to the eukaryotic cell of plant origin. Over there is a single or very few vacuoles, and the size is of course large, which can even obtain 90% space in the cell in the case of plant cell. But here in the animal cell, the vacuoles are more in number and they are having the small size. Beside this, there is the difference with respect to the cell wall. I know you must be knowing the basic differences between the plant cell and the animal cell. Fine. So we will not concentrate much over that, but the important things are to be mentioned here. Fine. In the case of animal cell, the cell wall is absent. So definitely the outermost boundary is the plasma membrane, which is not in the case of this plant cell. Over there, of course, plasma membrane is present, but it is surrounded by the cell wall made up of cellulose. Fine. Next is related to body organization. Now this body organization, definitely these organisms are multicellular, and in this multicellular group, the body is organized in different ways, and depending upon the complexity of this body differentiation, the animals are further subclassified. Like I can say that in some cases these cells, they are not differentiated. You know, differentiated into what? Differentiated into tissues. Then tissues, they are together forming the organs. Organs will form the organ system. So in different organisms, what type of body organization is there? That is the further base for the subclassification. So here, in the case of animals, the cells may be organized or it may not be organized. That means the cells, they are not forming the tissues in some organisms, but in others it might be showing the tissue grade of organization, or further in some others it might be having this organ level of organization, right? So it varies from in the different types of organisms. Fine. And depending upon this, these organisms are subclassified. Further, the important feature present in the Animalia is regarding the locomotion. These organisms are usually motile. So if they have to be motile, that means they can move from one place to the another. In that case, they must be having a well developed system for that, or they are having the specific parts for the process of movement. uh, in some organisms, motility may be not present. There are some organisms, but usually all animals are motile, and they all are provided with different structures, right? For example, in the case of hydra, there is no specific developed foot system or the muscular system, but it is moving in the different way. But in higher organisms, you can see that there is the presence of limbs or the appendages for such type of process. There are some organisms which are moving through the crawling. Right, there are different ways for the locomotion, but the important thing is that definitely these organisms are motile. Exceptions are there. Fine. Well, next important feature is the nutrition. All these organisms are heterotrophic in nature, and this is the biggest difference between the plant and the animal group. And since these are heterotrophic, definitely the internal structure also varies with respect to the plants. Since these organisms are heterotrophic in nature, they have to obtain food from outside, either from the plants or from other animals or their products, right? Or they can be dependent upon the dead and decayed material, right? Whatever type of source may be, but one thing has to be done. That means the food has to be obtained from outside and it is taken inside, right? And when it is taken inside, definitely there should be some process by which this absorbed food material could be digested. So such processes are not required in the plants, because over there they themselves are synthesizing the food material. In this case, the heterotrophic mode, as it is shown here, the modes can be different, right? It depends that from where they are obtaining the food material. Further, the next feature is regarding reproduction. So in this case, in the case of animals, usually the organisms are reproducing by the sexual mode, but definitely there are some lower animals which can reproduce by the asexual mode also. So all these are the basic features of this kingdom, right? And depending upon further differences, the groups are subdivided. So now I have discussed Till now I have discussed the basic features of all these five kingdoms, that is the Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae and Animalia. So now let me just give you one comparison table just to summarize the basic features of all these kingdoms, so that it becomes easy for you to place the particular organism in a particular kingdom. And after that, we will discuss about the subclasses or the different groups or the subgroups of the kingdom Plantae and the kingdom Animalia. For now, let us look at a comparison table. So here is the table. The very first column or this it is showing the feature. Then the feature is compared in all five kingdoms. That is the Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plant and Animal. Right. So the very first feature to be compared is the type of cell. The organisms, see, each organism is made up of a cell. Cell is a basic structural and functional unit of life. This you are studying since long, right? In the case of Monera, these organisms are made up of prokaryotic cells, while all other four kingdoms, the organisms of these kingdoms are made up of eukaryotic cells. Now, I will just summarize that prokaryotic cell means what? The one in which the primitive nucleus is present and the membrane-bound organelles are absent. Eukaryotic cell, in which true type of nucleus is present and the membrane bound organelles are also present. So this is the basic difference. Now here you can understand very well, the most simplest organism on earth is the one which belongs to the group Monera, right? Further, cell wall. Cell wall, it may be present in Monera or it may be absent. See, these organisms, most of the bacteria, I must say that all bacteria are coming in this particular category, and almost all of these bacteria, they are having the cell wall. But there is one small group in Monera itself in which the cell wall is absent, and that group is known as the mycoplasma. In this group, the plasma membrane is highly flexible. It is so much flexible that it can even cross the biofilter. A very fine filter is required if it has to be filtered out, right? But with general filters, general biofilters which are used for bacteria in laboratories, they are not used for the mycoplasma. In the case of Protista, again the cell wall may be present or it may be absent. The group in which, or the organisms in which cell wall is present, is known as the algae. Now here this algae is the one which is a unicellular algae, right? They are living as the unicellular organisms. In the case of plants or the higher this, the multicellular algae are also observed, right? So these algae which is having the cell wall, it is autotrophic in its mode of nutrition. Fine. The other group is the protozoa. Protozoa, in this I can say that proto means primitive, zoa means animal. It is related to animal, right? So this group is actually known as the primitive animal. So primitive animal, why I'm saying this thing? Because this group is the unicellular eukaryotic organism which is heterotrophic in its mode of nutrition. So you can see that all unicellular organisms, they are now divided into Monera and into Protista. In Monera also you can see that there are different types of organisms which are having cell wall or not. Same is true for the Protista. Fine. Well, in the next case, that is in fungi, cell wall is present and here it is made up of chitin. You know, in the case of Monera and in Protista, if the cell wall is present, it is not made up of chitin. It is made up of peptidoglycan. Fine. Well, in plants, the cell wall is essentially present and is made up of cellulose. In the case of animals, it is completely absent. It is never present in the in any of the organism which is belonging to the group animal. Fine. So now the next feature, it is a body organization. Fine. So body organization, body organization in case of Monera, it is unicellular. See, body organization is basically related to the differentiation of body parts or the arrangement of cells into different parts, right? Like in tissues or in organs and so on. But in the case of group Monera, the organisms that belong to the kingdom Monera, they are unicellular, right? And same is true for the Protista. So over there, no such organization is observed, as already they are made up of single cell. So a single cell is able to survive as an independent living organism, right? Now further, the next group is which one? Fungi. In fungi, these organisms are mainly multicellular. And in this multicellular group, see, initially these organisms begin their life as unicellular organisms, and then they are living a life as a multicellular at certain stage, right? Also the plant and the animal, they are also multicellular. But when we observe the organization, the differentiation of different body parts, then you will see the complexity over there, the increasing complexity in the body parts. In fungi, as I said, it is a simple structure and body is having a very little differentiation, right? Further, in the case of plants and animals, a higher level of body organization is observed. And of course, on the basis of this body organization, the organisms are differentiated or they are subclassified. Next is mode of nutrition. So in the case of Monera, I already stated that it can be either autotrophic or it can be heterotrophic. The organisms which are autotrophic, they are known as the group cyanobacteria, or it is also known as a blue-green algae. So it is not that true type of algae here. It is a prokaryotic organism. So basically prokaryotes are bacteria, and depending on its pigment which is present here, they are known as the cyanobacteria or blue-green algae. Fine. Now regarding heterotrophic mode of nutrition is of course present in the organisms, and the group is known as the bacteria. Further, in the group Protista, organisms can be either autotrophic, so the group constituted in this category is the algae, the unicellular algae. Further, next is the heterotrophic mode of nutrition, and the organisms showing this mode is protozoa. I already explained this thing. Fine. Further, in fungi, they all are heterotrophic, and mainly they shows the saprophytic mode of nutrition. It is different from that which is present in the higher animals, right, or in the Animalia group. Here, the organisms, they are absorbing the simplified material from outside and they are surviving on that. Fine. Then in the case of plants, the organisms are autotrophic. They are exclusively autotrophic. They can synthesize their own food. Further, the next is animal, and their special property is that they are always dependent on other organisms for their nourishment. So all animals are heterotrophic in their mode of nutrition. So the groups that are the representatives of this particular kingdom are like Eubacteria and Arachidibacteria in the Monera. Then in the case of Protista, the organism or the subgroup could be like protozoa, algae, diatoms, etc. For fungi, I can quote examples of yeast, molds, and the mushrooms. Fine. Yeast is the microscopic group, and mold and mushroom, they are the macroscopic groups. In the case of Plantae group, they are multicellular, and they are like algae, mosses, ferns, flowering plants, non-flowering plants, seed-bearing plants, and so on. Animals, they are subclassified on the basis of the presence of the backbone. So chordates and non-chordates, or in simple terms, the vertebrate group and the invertebrate animals, they all are the representative of kingdom Animalia. So this is all about the basic features or the basic comparison of all these 5 kingdom systems which were proposed by Sir R.H. Whittaker. In the further session, I'm going to discuss about the subclasses of or the subclassification of Plantae kingdom and the Animalia. So that we are going to continue in the next session. So till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.